Hi, welcome to my presentation. My name is Peter and I have developed the web app called GeoTopium. GeoTopium is an educational and quiz-based website. It features quizzes for the flags and country names of national countries around the world. It also features a page containing the flag images and country names of each country, as well as a search function to look them up. Because the main features of GeoTopium are the flags and countries quiz challenges, the primary target audience of this application are the geography learners. Such users can be someone who has little to no knowledge to consolidated or moderate knowledge of flag images and associated country names and vice versa, and would like to commit them to their memory. By taking on numerous flags and country challenge quizzes with GeoTopium, they will learn by trial and error on the outcomes of their answers. The secondary audience of this application are the geography quiz takers. A geography quiz taker can be someone who is studying or has interest in geography. By taking on the flags and countries challenge quizzes, they would be able to gauge into their abilities in identifying flag images and their associated country names. The GeoTopium website features a sticky navigation bar which provides access to all of the major sections of the website, both through desktop view and in mobile view. In desktop screen sizes, the links to all the major sections in the navigation bar are visible in the page. Meanwhile, in smaller mobile screen sizes, the links to all the major sections in the navigation bar aside from the home page, which is accessed via the GeoTopium logo, are grouped together and are accessible via the hamburger icon on the right of the navigation bar. The home page of the GeoTopium website features a list of all the flag images and the associated country names for all the national countries around the world, totaling up to 200 pairs. The pairs are all listed in alphabetical order in terms of their country names. Hovering of the mouse over to any of these pairs reveals its country name. From the navigation bar, the flags challenge is accessible by the flags link, while the countries challenge is accessible by the countries link. Both the flags and countries challenged links open up to their respective difficulties levels pages. At this point, the user is to select the difficulty level for which to embark on the flags challenge or countries challenge. These levels range from beginner to legendary. The difficulty levels between beginner and advanced differ between each other by the recognizability of the flags and countries offered by the question prompt. For example, for the beginner difficulty level of these challenges, the user would be presented with country names or flag images as question prompts that are generally most recognizable and thus would have the greatest chances of answering correctly. Meanwhile, for the advanced difficulty level, the user would be presented with country names or flag images as question prompts that are least recognizable and thus would have the lowest chances of answering correctly. The legendary difficulty level, on the other hand, presents the user with country names or flag images from the full sample of all country names or flag images. The motivation for the user, whether they are a geography learner or a geography quiz taker, is to aim to progress up the difficulty levels and reach the point in their geography knowledge whereby they would be able to answer all questions in the legendary difficulty level correctly. Although the flags and countries challenges test the user differently, they share a common structure. For each question, the user is presented with a flag image or country name at random. This is referred to as the prompt. Under this prompt, they are provided with 4 different national flags or country names, depending on the challenge. These are referred to as the possible answers. Only one possible answer out of the 4 is correct, and it is placed in a random location for each question. The side panel on the left-hand side of the page contains running metrics for the challenge. The top section specifies the question number out of 8. The section below that contains a countdown timer for the question, initially counting down from 15 seconds. Further down is a section that contains the score obtained for the challenge, where each question answered correctly obtains a score of 1. Then finally, the section at the bottom contains heart icons which indicate how many incorrect attempts out of 3 would be remaining, before which the challenge would be terminated prior to all 8 questions being answered. Hovering of the mouse over to each of the possible answers causes them to animate upwards as well as trigger a sound effect, all of which to give visual and auditory feedback to the user. The selection of each possible answer also triggers auditory and visual feedback, depending on whether the answer is correct or incorrect. Upon the selection of a possible answer, or if the countdown timer reaches 0, whichever comes first, the side panel is updated and the new question is loaded. The results page is loaded upon the completion of each flags or countries challenge. A challenge is either completed because the attempts remaining reaches 0, or all 8 questions of the challenge are answered, whichever occurs first. The results page displays the score of the challenge, the attempts remaining, the number of questions answered, and the difficulty level that the challenge was undertaken in. This page aims to provide the user with an overview of their quiz-taking abilities for the respective difficulty level that they undertook the challenge in. In the search page, the user is able to search the partial or full name of any country in order to obtain the flag image country name pairs that match the inputted search query. The contact page features a form for the user to fill in order to send an email to the GeoTopium organization. This form contains a drop-down box to specify the inquiry type and several input elements for the user to enter their inquiry. A measure is implemented to ensure that the user enters at minimum the required fields, that is, the first name, last name and email before being able to proceed with the submission of the form. If one or more of these required fields are blank and the Send button is selected, the user would be presented with an alert to specify which fields to fill in. Once all the required fields are filled in and the Send button is selected, an email would be generated with which the text of the subject and the message bodies would be synthesized in accordance with the information inputted in the contact form, ready to be sent to the GeoTopium email. Below the form, there is information of the developer of GeoTopium and an embedded map of their location. The process that was taken to implement this project began with the idea of creating a quiz website. From there, inspiration for the looks of the website and its responsiveness behavior was drawn from existing websites and concepts from the web. A quiz segment of the Britannica website was selected as the frame in which to base the GeoTopium flags and countries challenges on. This stage was then followed by the stage whereby the formation of the UI/UX design in the Figma platform took place. The UI/UX formed the foundation for the general appearance of the GeoTopium website, as well as define the linkages between the pages through prototyping. The UI/UX was created for both desktop and mobile views. From there, the website was developed page by page with constant reference to the UI/UX design, with the aim of making it look as close to the UI/UX design as possible by considering the layout, color schemes, sizes and spacing between all the elements of the pages. This was achieved through HTML for structuring the components and CSS code for styling and imposing responsiveness behaviors. For each page, once the HTML and CSS code were established, interactivity features and HTML behaviors were introduced by creation of the JavaScript files, which the HTML file links to. The JavaScript files prioritize the use of view coding concepts to achieve this, while also using pure JavaScript code to define standalone functions. Eventually, each page was formed by the following dedicated files: a HTML file to lay out the DOM structure of the page, a CSS file to style the page, and a JavaScript file to dictate the interactivities of the page and implement the view concepts. All the files associated with a particular page were compartmentalized into their respective folders. Numerous view coding concepts were utilized for the implementation of GeoTopium. Due to the time limitations of the presentation, only the major view coding concepts will be covered. In the homepage, all of the flag image country name pairs follow by the same HTML structure as each other. As such, a view component called country component is formed to allow for this. As each of the pairs differ between each other only by the flag image and country names, corresponding props are implemented in the component renderings to allow for these differences. The list rendering coding concepts is also applied in the homepage to loop through all of the flag image country name pairs from an array in the associated view instance called countries and to render them to the page. In the flags and countries challenges, conditional rendering is used to determine which text to display to the prompt container of the challenge. This is achieved by comparing a variable passed from the difficulty levels page against some preset values. Only one statement is correct at a time. The search page utilizes form input bindings to send user query strings to the view instance, where then it is subject to a filter in the computed property of the instance to create an array that would be used to render the flag image country name pairs to the page. Furthermore, enter and leave transitions are used to animate the entering and leaving of the flag image country name pairs to and from the page. The search page also uses custom directives to automatically focus on the input element upon the loading of the page. The contact page uses form input bindings to send user inputs to the associated view instances to process the text inputs of the form, and from there, either create an alert for the user or synthesize the email subject and email body for when the send button is selected. The contact page also uses custom directives to automatically focus on the first input element upon the loading of the page. In terms of design challenges, a challenge that was faced throughout the development of the website was in making each page responsive to smaller screen sizes. Not only did the layout of each page have to be presented neatly and aesthetically to the user in desktop view, but all of its components also had to do so in lower screen sizes, as well as harmoniously rearranged accordingly. The browser console tool was used consistently to adjust the screen sizes of each page so as to observe the changes in its layout and ensure that they were satisfactory after each block of alteration to HTML and CSS code. The screen size that was used to set as the benchmark for a successful responsive layout at a smaller screen size was that of the iPhone X. This challenge was largely overcome through modifications to styling of the components of each page through CSS. This was achieved through the use of media queries to set specific stylings of the HTML elements at certain ranges in screen sizes. The use of flexbox and content alignment styling, as well as the modification of paddings and margins, were instrumental in implementing desired layouts between the elements in each page. In most instances, because responsiveness was the subject of contention, much of the styling changes were performed through trial and error until satisfactory responsiveness was reached. Thank you for listening to my presentation on my GeoTopium Web App project. I hope that you enjoyed it.